He said it like he was updating me on the weather. "The house is sold," my father said, not looking up from his cup. "And the money will go toward your brother's trip. He's been planning it for a while." There was a small pause, like that should have been enough. I laughed, not because it was funny. It just came out, automatic, like my brain hadn't caught up yet. He glanced at me briefly, then went back to stirring his tea. "What?" he said. "Nothing," I replied, and for a moment, I almost left it there. That would have been familiar. Letting things settle into whatever shape he gave them, letting the meaning come later, when it was too late to question. But this time, something didn't settle. On the drive home, the sentence kept replaying. Not the words themselves, but how easily they were said. Like the house wasn't mine. Like my name on the paperwork was more of a suggestion than a fact. I thought about my mother. The way she had been precise about things near the end. Documents, signatures, conversations she made sure happened clearly, even when it was difficult. I realized I didn't actually know what had happened. Only what he told me, so I waited a day. Then I called a lawyer. The meeting was quiet. No drama, no raised voices, just documents laid out, dates checked, questions asked in a tone that didn't assume anything. "Did you authorize the sale?" she asked. "No." "Did you sign any transfer of ownership?" "No." She nodded once, making a note. "Then he didn't have the legal authority to sell the property," she said. The clarity of it felt almost strange. No interpretation, no family context, just fact. We went over what that meant. Options, next steps, what could be undone and what couldn't. It wasn't clean, but it was defined. For the first time since the conversation, I felt steady. A week later, she called him. I wasn't there, but I didn't need to be. She introduced herself, explained that she represented me, and outlined the situation in terms that didn't leave room for reinterpretation. The property had been sold without legal authorization. The transaction was being formally challenged. Immediate action would be required. No accusation, no emotion, just structure. She told me afterward that there was a long silence on his end. Then questions, short at first. Controlled, then slower. By the end of the call, his tone had changed. Not cooperative exactly, but no longer certain. That was enough. I saw him a few days later. He didn't bring it up right away. We talked about ordinary things. Traffic, a neighbor, something on the news. There was a slight hesitation in how he spoke, like he was choosing his words more carefully than usual. Eventually he said, "You could have talked to me." I looked at him. "I did," I said. "You told me it was already done." He didn't respond to that, just shifted slightly in his chair, eyes dropping for a moment before returning to neutral. There was no apology. But something had changed. He didn't continue the conversation, didn't explain, didn't defend it again, and I noticed something else. He wasn't speaking the same way he had before. The certainty was gone. The assumption that decisions could be made and then explained later. We didn't resolve anything that day. The legal process continued in the background. Calls, documents, corrections. It wasn't immediate and it wasn't simple. My brother didn't reach out, not to me, which, in a way, clarified things further. I stopped trying to understand his side of it. What stayed with me wasn't the outcome of the case. Not really. It was the moment the language changed. From "we decided" to something that had to be justified. Defined. Questioned. I still saw my father occasionally. We spoke, sat in the same room. The structure of the relationship remained, but something underneath it had shifted. He asked more, or maybe he just assumed less. There was distance but not hostility. A kind of carefulness that hadn't existed before, and I realized I wasn't trying to close that distance. I wasn't trying to restore what had been there before, either. Because what had been there before depended on me not noticing or not responding. Now, things were quieter, more deliberate. Nothing about it felt like a win, but it did feel like something had been put back where it belonged. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to explain why that mattered.